This is the 8th in a series of 10 modules all about social enterprise. This module looks at strategic tools for social enterprise. The aim of this module is to support the learner in identifying strategic tools that can be useful when planning the development of social enterprise, and to facilitate the exploration of the learner's immediate and wider work context in order to promote professional development. By the end of this session, the learner will be able to identify a number of strategic planning tools, understand how to utilise the planning tools to aid the development of social enterprise, and contemplate the first steps needed to use the planning tools. So why do you need to plan? Strategic planning determines where a social enterprise is going to over the next year or more, how it's going to get there, and how it will know if it got there or not. There are many strategic tools that can support the development of social enterprise. These can be used equally effectively in emerging, new and established enterprises, to help organisations that are just developing, or to help enterprises that have been in existence for a number of years check where they are and ascertain that they are remaining true to their original vision. This module will offer a number of examples. There are many more tools available, however, that can be used. What, why and how. This is one of the most simple and effective strategic tools that any social enterprise can make use of. Anybody involved with the enterprise should be able to answer the questions: what do you do, why do you do it, and how do you do it? This tool works well as an attention directing tool in the initial planning stage of the project, although it can be used by established social enterprise at any time to check aim, mission, vision, values and objectives. This very simple tool can help you define or redefine your strategy and other key areas of your enterprise, such as social impact. If the social enterprise is to be effective and successful, then these questions and their answers must be understood at all levels of the enterprise. As an activity, using either your own enterprise or one identified in earlier modules, can you answer the questions: what do you do? Why do you do this? And how do you do it? You can use this tool at the very early stages of establishing a social enterprise, and by answering these questions, you'll be moving towards creating your vision and mission, as well as the products or services that you wish to provide. This can also be used as a tool for marketing in order to help your enterprise communicate clearly and effectively with your target markets. Whilst this tool can be used on its own, it should be complemented by the use of other strategic tools, such as SWOT and PESTEL analysis. Once you have looked at answering these questions, you can also consider additional questions such as who is involved, who do you work with, when, and identify any timeframes involved, and where. Not only where do you work, but where is your market? PESTEL. PESTEL stands for political, economic, sociological, technological, legal and environmental. The term has been used regularly in the last 10 years, and its true history is difficult to establish. Various other similar acronyms have been used, including ETPS, STEP, PEST and STEEPLE. PESTEL analysis is in effect an audit of the environmental influences of a social enterprise with the purpose of using this information to guide strategic decision making. It is based on the idea that if an enterprise is able to audit its current environment and assess potential changes, it will be better placed than its competitors to respond to change. A PESTEL analysis is a useful tool for understanding the big picture for social enterprise. Specifically, it's a useful tool for understanding the risks associated with market growth or decline, and such as the position, potential and direction for the enterprise in question. It's primarily focused in factors that are external to your enterprise and that are happening in the wider world. It's important to understand the external environment. In order to plan for the future, consideration needs to be given to what is happening around your social enterprise. External factors that will either help or prevent you from meeting your aims and objectives. Some external factors are obvious, such as the availability of funding, and others, such as changes of society's attitudes or government policy, may not seem to be directly relevant to what your organisation wishes to achieve, but in the longer term can be very important. The external environment is always changing and is made up of people, organisations and agencies that have an impact on your enterprise. When considering PESTEL analysis, think political. What is happening politically in the environment in which you operate, including areas such as tax policy, employment law, environmental regulations, trade restrictions and reform, tariffs and political stability. Consider local council policies, national government policy and European directives. For economic, what is happening within the economy, for example? Economic growth and decline, interest rates, exchange rates and inflation rates, wage rates, minimum wage, working hours, unemployment on both a local and national level, also credit availability and the cost of living. Consider funding trends, including changes in the funding sources, local and national economic changes, budget cuts, trends in charitable giving and volunteering. For sociological trends, You need to look at what's occurring socially in the markets in which you operate or expect to operate. Cultural norms and expectations, health consciousness, population growth rate, age distribution, career attitudes, emphasis on safety, global warming. It's important to consider changes in population and public attitudes. With regards to technology, what is happening technology-wise which can impact on what you do? Technology is leaping every 2 years, and how will this impact your products or your services? And things that were not possible 5 years ago are now mainstream, such as mobile phone technology, Web 2.0, blogs, and even microblogs such as Twitter. Social networking websites are prevalent. New technologies are continually being delivered, and the rate of change itself is increasing. There are also changes to barriers to entry in given markets, and changes to financial decisions like outsourcing and insourcing. Consider technological changes and access to new technologies such as IT and social media, and the skills requirements that you will have as a result of this. If you think legal, what is happening with changes to legislation? This may impact on employment, access to materials, quotas, resources, imports and exports, and taxation. It's important to consider new laws or changes to existing legislation. And finally, environmental. What's happening with respect to ecological and environmental issues? Many of these factors will be economic and social in nature. Consider local, national and international environmental changes and impacts. As an activity, using either your own enterprise or one identified in earlier modules, start to complete a PESTEL analysis. This can be used for business and strategic planning, marketing planning, organisational change, business and product development, and research reports. It can also be used from a departmental or individual perspective to look at what you deliver, to whom, and how you do it. To be effective, this analysis needs to be undertaken on a regular or ongoing basis. Enterprises that regularly and systematically do analyses often spot trends before others, thus providing competitive advantage. Do get other stakeholders involved to gain multiple perspectives. Do make use of any expertise and resources that are already available within the enterprise. And do use PESTEL analysis in conjunction with other techniques such as SWOT analysis. SWOT. Strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal factors, and opportunities and threats are external factors. Originated by Albert S. Humphreys in the 1960s, SWOT allows you to look at the internal and external influences on your social enterprise and the impact they can have, both positive and negative. It's important to remember that the SWOT is only current at the time of producing it, since it will be part of an ever-changing environment. The strengths and weaknesses of your enterprise will change as your business develops, and this process should be part of your planning and review schedule and repeated on a regular basis. SWOT analysis is a useful technique for understanding your strengths and weaknesses, and for identifying both the opportunities open to you and the threats you face. Used in a business context, a SWOT analysis helps you carve a sustainable place in your market. The SWOT can be very powerful because it can help you uncover opportunities to exploit. By understanding the weaknesses of your enterprise, you can manage and eliminate threats before they become critical. Also, by looking at yourself and your competitors using the SWOT framework, you can start to create a strategy that helps you distinguish yourself from your competition, thus creating a sustainable social enterprise. The most important thing to do when starting a SWOT is to be realistic. Consider your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats with as many of your stakeholders as possible. When considering your strengths, think about what advantages does your enterprise have. What do you do better than anyone else? What do people in your market see as your strength? What is your enterprise's USP? When looking at your strengths, think about them in relation to your competitors. For example, if all of your competitors provide high-quality products, then your high-quality product is not a strength in the market in which your enterprise competes. It's a necessity. Weaknesses. What could you improve? What should you avoid? What are the people in your market likely to see as weaknesses? And what factors lose you sales? With opportunities, what good opportunities can you spot? What interesting trends are you aware of? Useful opportunities can come from things such as changes in technology and markets, changes in government policy related to your area of expertise, changes in social patterns, or local events. And with threats, what obstacles do you face? What are your competitors doing? Are quality standards for your products changing? Is changing technology threatening your position? Do you have any cash flow problems? Could any of your weaknesses seriously threaten your business? When looking at opportunities, look at your strengths and ask yourself whether these open up any opportunities for your enterprise. Alternatively, look at your weaknesses and ask yourself whether you could open up any opportunities by getting rid of them. As an activity, using either your own enterprise or one identified in earlier modules, start to complete a SWOT analysis. Be realistic about the strengths and weaknesses of your organisation when conducting a SWOT analysis. Generally, you should expect to have more weaknesses and threats than strengths and opportunities. You'll therefore be regarding your strengths and opportunities as resources that can help you overcome your weaknesses and threats. SWOT analysis should always distinguish between where your organisation is today and where it could be in the future. SWOT should always be specific. Keep it short and simple. Avoid complexity and over-analysis at this stage. Remember, a SWOT analysis is a very subjective thing. Once key issues have been identified with your analysis, they can feed into marketing objectives. SWOT can be used in conjunction with other tools for audit and analysis, such as Pestel analysis and Porter's 5 Forces analysis. Understand, plan, do and review. This is designed to be used equally as effectively by an established social enterprise as by an emerging enterprise. It can be used either to ensure that your whole enterprise is on track or to look in more detail at a specific project or initiative. It is a cyclical, step-by-step process with 4 key phases. It is at its most effective if you have already identified all of the key stakeholders for your enterprise, and if you are able to undertake the process whilst bearing in mind the wider environment in which your enterprise operates. You will find this easier if you have already undertaken a Pestel and SWOT analysis. The aim of this tool is to understand how your enterprise meets its objectives and to analyse performance so that changes can be made if needed. All 4 stages of the Understand, Plan, Do and Review tool are equally important. The Understand section requires you to use input from as many stakeholders as possible and ensure that everybody understands what the social enterprise is about, its mission, value, aims and objectives. The Plan section requires you to plan and document the services and activities that are most appropriate to address the need that your social enterprise is intending to meet. Identify appropriate monitoring measures and ensure that they are embedded in the delivery plan. With regards to Do, the social enterprise needs to begin delivery based on that plan, and the outputs and outcomes of the products or services need to be monitored. With regards to Review, the service and the delivery need to be reviewed and evaluated in conjunction with stakeholders to ensure that needs are being met. Adjustments can be made at this point before returning to the understanding stage of the cycle, having learnt lessons. Other tools to consider. There are a number of other tools that can be used to support the strategic development of social enterprise. These have been historically used to plan for commercial business, but the impact that they can have on social enterprise is not to be underestimated. It will be down to each enterprise to decide for themselves on the value of any tools that they choose to use. You can consider Porter's 5 Forces, which looks at supplier power, buyer power, competitive rivalry, the threat of substitution, and the threat of new entry. You might want to consider the Boston Matrix, which is a 4-part 2x2 matrix model, a very quick and easy method for analysis, thinking and decision making. It involves social enterprises categorising their services under 4 headings: that of the cash cow, the dog, the question mark, or the rising star. There's also the Ansoff product market matrix. This is a 4-part 2x2 matrix model that is basically a simple and effective way of looking at strategic development options. Social enterprises consider their potential of their services or products under 4 headings: that of market penetration, product development, market development, and diversification.